Okay, guys. So in math, we've been learning a lot about fractions, and most recently, I guess, we did fractions on the number line. And so now we're going to take that knowledge and we're going to kind of move it into measurement, and we're going to use what we know about fractions on a number line to help us measure things that fall in between the inch marks on a number line. I remember in second grade teaching you how to measure to the nearest inch, 1 inch, 2 inches, 3 inches, and so on. And so now we're going to look at the fact that not most items actually do not fall right on those 1 inch, 2 inch, 3 inch marks. And so we're going to look at what we can do and how we can kind of measure those things a little bit more accurately. So I've got a number line here, and what we've been doing in class is we would label 0 at the left, and all the way to the right we would label it 1 and then look at all the sections in between. But today we're actually going to label this number line at 1 and 2, and now these are a lot bigger than inches, just so it'll be big and easy for you to see, but when we look at a ruler in a few minutes it'll be the right size. So now I'm going to mark off in the middle of 0 and 1, and then I'm going to mark off in the middle of 1 and 2. And so we know that halfway from 0 to 1 we would label that 1/2. So if this were a ruler, this would be 1/2 inch. But then I've got 1 inch, that comes next, and so then it brings me to the question of how do I label this next mark? Well, it's more than 1, it's less than 2, it's right in the middle, so it would actually be, we know that the fraction part of that is going to be at 1/2, but that gets the whole number in front of it of 1, so we would call this 1 and 1/2, or 1 and a half. So we can use this basic information from our number line, and we can translate that into using a ruler. So right here I have just a paper ruler, but it's got our fractions broken out, and so tomorrow we'll get into the 1/4 inch, so that's the 1/4 and 3/4. Today we're just going to focus on the 1/2 inch mark. So on a ruler, that line is going to be not as long as the whole number marks, but it's a little bit longer than all the other marks in between there. Most rulers actually have 16 lines in between the inches, but what we're going to work with right now, we're just going to have 3 lines in between marking off the 1/4 inches. But today we're going to focus on the 1/2 inch. So we're going to just kind of go through, and I'm going to measure some items for you today, and we'll just record their measurements. So let's start with my big Lego. You're going to see lots of toys and things from my house because those are the things I have available for me to measure with today. So let me move my notebook, and let's just review how to use our ruler. So we always start with the 0. Some rulers that's right at the very edge, but this one it's a little bit further in, it's the line. So I have to make sure and line up the edge of my item with the 0 on the ruler. If I line up my item with the edge of the ruler, then I'm going to get a measurement that's actually a little smaller than my item. And if I line it up in too far from the 0 to this way, then I'm going to end up with a measurement that's actually a little bit bigger than my item really is. So always make sure you line up good with that 0. And then we're just going to look at where the end of our item falls. So I can see that it goes past the 1, past the 2, the 3, and the 4, but it doesn't make it to the 5. So it's actually in between these 2 lines. So I can say that this item is this would be the halfway mark, so 4, this is in the middle, so 4.5. So I'm going to record that my white Lego is about 4.5 inches. Always remember those units. What are we measuring? And inches and centimeters are the things we usually do in 3rd grade, but they can be very different, so you've got to make sure that you do that. And I'm actually going to measure my gray Lego. You know what? I think I want to measure its skinny side, its shorter side. So if I line it up with a 0, that's going to be right at the 1/2 inch mark. So I can record that in my notebook. Now we know we could abbreviate the word inch by just writing IN, so let's erase a little bit there. That might be a little bit faster for us. So I know you probably don't have a ruler at home, so you're not going to have a lot of, I'm not going to make you go through and measure items, but now I've got my gorilla. It kind of reminds me of Ivan. He doesn't have a silver back though. Maybe it's young Ivan before he grew up, but when I measure him, look at that, he's right at an inch. So obviously he's not a full-grown gorilla. We can measure our giraffe. Let's measure his height. What's that measurement? Hopefully you just said 2.5 inches, or you just waited for me to tell you, but either way, it's 2.5 inches. So measuring to the nearest half inch is really, guys, it's really not hard at all. It's really quite simple. So I can measure my tiger here. My tiger is going to be about 2.5 inches. So you can measure just about anything to the nearest half inch. And tomorrow we're going to look at measuring to the nearest 1/4 inch. So that'll be super fun. Hopefully you will enjoy that. Today I want you to take a little bit of time in your Google Classroom. You have a slideshow linked. So there's another one underneath all of this stuff, and it says measuring to the nearest half inch part 1 or something like that, but you'll click on that and it'll automatically make a copy in your Google Drive, and it's got some questions for you to go through and look at and some different items for you to measure. So you'll click and drag things around on there and work through that today, and then when you get finished you can turn that in. And if you have some time, you can work on rounding in IXL. The topic numbers are in your Google Classroom, tells you exactly where to go so you don't have to search for it. See you tomorrow.